All right, Jerod. So why don't you tell us what is a place at home?
Yeah, you bet. You bet. A place at home is a in-home senior care franchise that we really focused on senior focused care. And happy to tell you all about everything there is to do with a place at home. But is there anywhere you specifically wanted to start?
I do. I do. All right. You've got such a great story to tell. I know you co-founded this with a buddy, Dustin. I'd love to know kind of leading up to this. First of all, what were you doing before you guys started this?
Yeah, great question. I actually started selling real estate. Got my broker's license out of college, started selling in '08, which if you remember, mortgage crisis, probably the worst time in
Sure.
history to start a real estate career. But that's what I did. I jumped in, possibly at the worst possible time. And continued to grow though. I really cut my teeth in sales and entrepreneurship within real estate and started to grow a pretty significant business, created my own real estate team. And really my future was pointed towards, you know, realty and potentially having or my own brokerage at some point in time. So that's what I was doing before this. Now, as life so happened, there is a different story that was going to unfold. And actually, that story really does start when I was a kid. My journey started as early as I can remember. Very fortunate to have grandparents that were very involved with my life. I owe so much to them between life lessons taught, experiences they afforded me, and their overall love and mentorship. So it wasn't until, I was busy selling real estate and growing a family that I realized I started to become the grandson who couldn't just drop everything at a moment's notice and help. And it was frustrating. And I was not happy with the way that made me feel. And we have a small family unit and there just simply wasn't enough to go around. So life was getting in the way, as it does for so many people. I just started to be consumed with other things. And just so happened that around that same time, my childhood friend since fourth grade, Dustin DeStefano, he was moving back into Omaha from traveling and having a career, in Arizona and international before that. And he was moving back to Omaha to really start his family. And so one evening, actually, Dustin and I and our spouses were sitting down, sharing life experiences, having some dinner, a bottle or two of wine, and just enjoying the evening when we both realized we were having some similar issues, different
Hmm.
circumstances, but similar issues with not having enough care. Me for my grandparents and his for his great grandmother. And so, after some short kind of discovery as to what is out there that could possibly help, really kind of stumbled along in-home senior care and the benefit that that could be to keep people independent in their home for as long as possible. So that was really the very first kind of light bulb that came on as to saying like, wow, there's something out there that can help and that could help my
Hmm.
family and what a valuable and a meaningful, business that could be. So that was kind of like the very first impetus of the business. When we continued to look into senior care, we noticed first off amazing things that were happening, a great industry, some, in the backyard of some, really, really large, some of the largest home care franchises in the United States are headquartered right here in Omaha. So there's quite a presence. So we didn't have to look too long, in our discovery process to see the things that were happening right, and the things that we more so
Sure.
focus on is how many things we thought we could do better. We really wanted to bring professionalism into the in-home care industry. There was just so many times when people were going without care. We were calling for care and not receiving services. And all the way down to the in-home evaluation done on a scrap piece of paper with someone in flip-flops and shorts. I mean, it was, you name it, it was just kind of a string of things. And we said, you know what, if this is what's being offered, we can
Hmm.
do it better. So it was pretty quickly from that point to where we said, you know what, we need to create something we'd be happy to share with our family, with our community, and something, we could stamp our name on, a solution that
Sure.
we'd be proud of. And there you have it. We kind of set our focuses on creating an in-home senior care company. So from real estate broker to CNA, right? That's kind of how I started cutting my teeth in the in-home care world, because the
Right.
closest at that point I'd ever been to healthcare was marrying a nurse, right? So very different healthcare experience there. But, side note, Dustin and I did get our CNAs, rolled up our sleeves, and really wanted to
Oh,
learn
nice.
what our employees would be doing and the kind of care that
Wow.
our families and our clients would be receiving.
That's cool. Jerod, so you guys started the company, founded in 2012, I recall, if my notes are right.
Yeah, you got it right. Yep, we founded the business in 2012.
Right. So first of all, who came up with the name? How'd you guys decide on it? I always love how people come up with the names of their companies and the origin backstory.
So the naming convention was not a small conversation or decision to make, and it was one we brought in our families to help. So everybody was getting to throw names into the hat. Very quickly, though, through our kind of industry analysis and really just doing our research, we realized that many of our referral sources, they handed out names, a list of different preferred providers. And guess what? Those lists were alphabetical.
Aha.
There was still, on print piece of paper for the most part, and handed off to the clients or the client family member saying, hey, this is who you should talk to. Well, guess what? We knew right away we wanted to be at the top of the list, right? It's hard enough to get
Brilliant.
on that list, let alone not to be one of the first couple phone calls that are made.
Mm-hmm.
And so we knew we wanted to start with the letter A.
Brilliant.
And so from that point on, it was a matter of finding what made the most sense, what was in line with our goals, which is to keep independence in the home. I mean, ultimately, between the home and being a place, and it just kind of came together. It was actually Dustin's aunt-in-law, I guess if that would be the correct title. It was like, well, what about a place at home? We were like, place at home. That's amazing. I love it. Like, let's roll with it. And so that was kind of the origin of a place at home.
Okay, very cool. Well, you guys have had tremendous success, and we're going to get to the whole franchising side of things. But I love when entrepreneurs share their story because we all know entrepreneurship is not easy. And would you be willing to share maybe early on when you guys were starting out, what was maybe a challenge you faced in the early days and how you overcame it?
So from, I'll even rewind briefly back to 2012 when we were starting a senior care company when they being people who we were talking to about starting the industry, even potential investors in the community we were going to saying, hey, first off, you guys are men in a predominantly female industry. You're
Mm-hmm.
young at the time. I think we were 26, 27 years old when we started to investigate senior care in a predominantly old industry, and we didn't have any healthcare knowledge. So those were like huge kind of in your face items. It was like, wow, out of all the research and all the, projections and performas and SWOT analysis, everything we've been doing, and like we didn't know that ourselves until it was kind of hit us in the face. And so that was really the first thing we had to overcome
Mm-hmm.
is those nuances, right? We continued, when people said no, we strove forward, knew we wanted a model that was different, that was focused on a solution and comprehensive for the client. And when we started getting Best of Omaha, year after year in a market with some of the largest competitors again in the world, we knew we were doing something right. So we wanted a franchise. Then came the next hurdle, right? We need to fund the franchise. Well, we tried and we asked a lot of people. And again, you guys are young. What do you know about franchising? Why don't you go start a franchise and then learn it and then go start your own, be
Oh,
a
gosh.
franchisee for a while, wait out in the water. And so we had a lot of people again saying no. But
Mm-hmm.
we drove past that and we started to launch. And we did bring on some small equity partners and family and friends and took on a loan ourselves to be able to launch. But that was just some of the hurdles that it took just to get to the point of saying, okay, now we're going to franchise and open our doors and experience what the world of franchising has to offer.
Right.
So, once we started franchising, our initial goals, I mean, we were selling 10 to 12 locations a year. By our fifth year, we were at 50 plus locations.
Wow.
I mean, it was on this amazing growth trajectory to where we were going to be competing with some of, the bigger name brands in a very short amount of time because of our differentiators. But it wasn't that easy. There's a lot of competition out there. And our niche, kind of our senior focused care approach, is very specific to in-home care and people in the industry where you're using lingo where it's like, oh, I get it. And you have to go through and explain all the reasons why you're different. And you get done and they're like, so so tell me again, why are you different? I was like, all right, hold on. So we gotta kind of reframe this. We gotta bring the lingo down to a point where people can understand what makes this different, and more, kind of relate to them and their situations. But yeah, early days of franchising, it literally was Dustin and me smiling, dialing, 10 plus hours a day on the phone through thousands of paid lead generators, going into expos where we really had no reason to be in because we didn't know what in the world we were doing at that time, with thousands of people coming by, kind of adult trick-or-treating and taking all of our swag. We had just spent so much money. I'm like, hey, hold on, we're on a budget here. What's happening? That's my pin. Stop it.
True.
Those kind of things. But yeah, so we had some hurdles, there to begin.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fiume, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its hosts do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.